why I'm such a night person, but it is literally like 12:25 at night, and I decided to start a vlog because why not? I can't sleep. Pretty positive I have insomnia, and I could probably just take a melatonin and go to sleep. But why do that when we can read, right? I have all 3 books by the author Andy Weir, and I decided to do a vlog of his books because I have his new release, Project Hail Mary, and I want to read it, but I also have Artemis and I have The Martian, and I know that this one is a movie with Matt Damon. I thought it would be cool for me to read all 3 of his books and watch The Martian. Because I am in a sci-fi mood. I am taking a break from fantasy. So I have about, I want to say 9 books, including these 3. I have about 9 books that I really want to read that have absolutely nothing to do with the fantasy genre. And so I think it's going to be a really much needed break. The fantasy books have been chef's kiss lately, but I don't want to overdo it. And so we're going to explore other genres. So I'm going to start with Artemis because this is the one that I don't really hear about, and I don't have any pre-existing opinions about it. I expect The Martian to be really good. I have high expectations for Project Hail Mary. So we're gonna start small, get used to the writing, and go from there. I am very wide awake and I won't be going to sleep anytime soon. So we're gonna strive to hit over 50, between 50 to 100 pages of Artemis. If I don't check in with you guys before I go to bed, I definitely will in the morning. The book looks like it's about 301 pages exactly, so it should be a very quick read, and I hope that is really good and I can like run through it. Like, what if we can read all 300 pages like within the next 24 hours? That would be dope, but let's not get carried away. We have hit the 100-page mark in Artemis, and I have opinions, okay? So the first like 40 pages were funny. The world was understandable. The characters were kind of cringy, but they would tell jokes on page, and I giggled. I was like, okay, like, it's not what I'm used to, but it made me laugh, so we're gonna go from there. And then after I hit 50 pages in this book, everything just shot to hell. They live on this space, let's start there. They live on this space station on the moon, and the solar, or like the lunar city, is called Artemis, and the lunar city is controlled by Kenya because there's this lady on the moon who is from Kenya, and she like went to these mega corporations because America and like Western countries were giving them like a lot of red tape. So the lady in Kenya went to these big mega corporations and basically allowed them to use Kenya as like a launching pad to explore space, and they were able to build this city, this lunar city on Earth's moon, because Kenya didn't put them through so many hoops that like America and Britain might have put them through. And so even though this is a mega corporation with a lot of power, there's been mentions in the book where the people of Kenya feel very indebted to this mega corporation, because without the mega corporation, the rest of Kenya would have been a third world country and poor like the rest of the other countries in Africa. That's questionable. We have some questionable Muslim content that feels very uncomfortable on page. Our main character, her being from, she lives on the moon. She's always lived on the moon since she was about 6, but she's a citizen of Saudi Arabia. So another thing that feels very weird is that on this in this city on the moon, there are sects that are divided by ethnicity. So like the people from Saudi Arabia does most of like the welding, and the people from Ukraine does most of like the machinery. There's some Jews that control like different jobs on like the station. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's not very meshed well. The author literally divided these ethnicities to do certain jobs, and it was explained that, you know, once somebody comes in, let's say I'm from Saudi Arabia, I come and I start welding, and so I find people that are like in my community, and they come and we build like this entire welding community, and then boom, we dominate all things welding in Artemis. it's just not realistic. Even if there was a certain job or trade where a majority of the people were from a certain country, it wouldn't be like that for almost every job in the entire city. I don't know. It's just very weird. It didn't feel comfortable. Our main character is trying to pull off a heist, and in order for her to blend in, even though she's lived on this in this lunar city pretty much her entire life, like I said, she came when she was 6 years old, and now she's an adult. She dresses in like Saudi Arabian attire and pretends to not know English and speaks in broken English, act like a tourist, so that nobody notices who she is. And because so many people come to the moon to see the moon city, and pretty much it's a small population, the people who actually live on the moon is only about 2,000 of them. Everyone else is a tourist who have come from Earth that want to just see the moon city. You can pretty much speak English without having to like pretend. I don't know. It's just, I wanted to DNF this book so bad. Like, I got this book from Amazon and I've already started my return. It's already, like, it's definitely going back. I cannot believe that this is a highly acclaimed author. I cannot, like, the writing is utterly awful. I cannot believe that they gave this man 3 books. And clearly this is why we don't hear about this book in the book community, because if we did, book Twitter would have a field day canceling him. I took some screenshots of like parts of the book that made me uncomfortable. There was even a scene where one of the characters was explaining that this guy and his wife or his partner came from Russia because they were being judged back on Earth because he wanted to have relations with his stepsister. And so because the guy wanted to be with his stepsister, but it's taboo on Earth, basically left Earth to live on the moon in the moon city, because on the moon nobody cares who you're with and nobody cares, like, as long as it's consensual and the person is of age. And then it literally says, but age is also debatable. So it's like so cringing. I just, do not buy this book. Like, let me be the one to tell you, like, I spent my money on this book and I'm getting my money back because this is utterly terrible. And I'm starting to feel like this whole vlog was a terrible, terrible mistake. On another note, we got some book mail today. I got the Midnight Library, which I have as a 5-star prediction for me. I'm hoping to really like this book. I also got Stacey Abrams' While Justice Sleeps. I ended up putting this on my Goodreads last year as soon as it was announced, and I'm glad that I finally was able to purchase it because Amazon did a buy 2 get 1 free. So you got 3 for the price of 2 books, and so that's how I ended up getting the Midnight Library and While Justice Sleeps. And because I couldn't find anything else that I really wanted, I also ended up grabbing The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue because I am already reading so many V.E. Schwab books, and again, I couldn't find anything else on the 3 for 2 deal, so we just went with The Invisible Life. And then today is actually the release day for The Maidens, and so that's how I was even on Amazon in the first place, is because I was looking to purchase this book because it came out today and I seen that they were having the 3 for 2. So yeah, this is my little mini haul. I am not having a good time at all. I hate it here, to be frank. The book is not well written. There's so many unnecessary commentations around ethnicities and races, and they include stereotypes and just prejudices and just negativity around a person's race. And I would much rather have had the author include people from different countries, because we are on the moon, of course. And so I understand that everybody is going to be different. It's going to be a melting pot. But the author is writing like cliches around their ethnicity. Like, he's literally tying the ethnicity into the plot. And it's just very awkward on paper. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. I don't like that at all. I also want to say that I hope this author never writes another female character, because there is so much slut shaming and just negative connotations around her sex life, period. And it's constantly like happening every other page. Amazon is at my door. It is constantly happening on like every other page, and I don't understand why we have to keep alluding to her sex life. And like, There was even a scene where she had to dress up like a prostitute. This was more uncomfortable than her pretending to be like a Saudi Arabian woman who couldn't speak any English. She went back and pretended to be, so the first time she was pretending to be a Muslim, and she did it wrong, got it wrong, and then she had to pretend to be a prostitute, in which case she just put on a miniskirt and a crop top and everybody automatically knew she was a prostitute. Like, that was it. Not like she hung out with prostitutes or she went to like an area where prostitutes hang out. It was just she put on a crop top and a miniskirt and went to a hotel and was immediately being asked how much she charges per night as a prostitute, which was very weird. I just want that to stop. Like, I have not given a book 1 star in 2021 at all, and this feels like very much going to be a 1 star. I have about 90 pages left, and so I'm gonna knock it out just so I can be done with it. I honestly cannot believe what's happening right now. Like, I want my money back. Sex and age has come up again in this book. Our main character had sexual relations when she was 17 with a guy who was older than her. And I guess he cheated on her with a 14-year-old girl. And even though there's no laws in Artemis that prevents it, there's a moral gang that came together to beat him up, to show him that, like, Artemis isn't barbaric. So while there's no law preventing you from doing it, from having sexual relations with a 14-year-old girl, not everybody's gonna okay it. So they beat him up really bad. I can't believe they published this shit. Now we have a 16-year-old girl in a bar, which is okay because there's also no drinking age requirement on the moon in Artemis. But if the bartender serves a teenager 1 too many drinks, they might get beat up by the moral gang. Other than that, no one cares about the underage drinking. Someone gave our main character a reusable condom that they wanted her to test out by using it at her next sexual intercourse and then cleaning it off, and I guess using it again and then giving them feedback so that they could start to market this reusable condom. The character, it seems like every 20 or 25 pages, asks our main character, have they had a chance to use the condom yet? And I don't know if it's supposed to be like a on-page joke, but it's not funny at all. And like, there's no character growth at all with our main character, Jasmine. Like, she is someone who has made terrible, terrible life decisions in the past. And so everyone in her community, including her father, calls her like a criminal, a petty criminal, a disappointment, a waste of talent. And like, that's constantly brought up in the book, that if she just applied herself or put effort into things, that she could be someone really successful. And she does have like a good intellectual mindset, but she doesn't want to hear about how people think that she should apply herself. So it's something that she's kind of like running from. However, she's not having any type of character growth at all. Like, when she talked about the decisions that she made at 17 and 18 and 21, it's the exact same Jasmine at 26. And I'm now 250 out of 300 pages, and she's the exact same Jasmine from page 1 to page now. There's literally no character growth so far, and it's honestly annoying. It's really annoying because she's still making terrible decisions, and like, now we're in a life or death situation. I will say that, like, if you read the synopsis of this book, it pretty much gives you the entire layout. Jasmine is hired to do a heist so that a guy could take over this company. She's supposed to, it's not even a heist. She's hired to go sabotage the equipment of a company so that another millionaire can take over the company's contract with like the city of Artemis. And when she goes to complete the job, it pretty much goes south, and now she's like running for her life because people are vying for power of Artemis, and she doesn't know who to trust. And so she's basically trying to prevent this gang from taking over Artemis. That's basically the entire plot of this book. And honestly, like, the synopsis just gave away way too much. I feel like they should have left it a lot more vague because not much is surprising. I feel like if we did not know what to expect going into the book, like if the synopsis wasn't so detailed, maybe the plot would have unfolded in a better way. But it's just a negative, like ones across the board. We are officially done with Artemis, and I could not be more ecstatic. I could rant and complain about this book for 72 hours nonstop. This is arguably the worst book I've ever read. I would much rather have done this vlog of me just reading Wattpad stories because I feel like I would have had a better time. I don't even know where to start. We got some more slut shaming. There's literally a scene in the book where Jasmine, our main character, Jasmine's father, like I said earlier, he's very disappointed in who his daughter turned out to be. He meets her friends, and she makes a comment saying, "Believe it or not, Dad, I haven't slept with anybody in this room." And her dad's like, "Well, it's a small room." Like, the slut shaming was just nonstop, every other page. No character growth. We opened this book with Jasmine being a criminal slash smuggler, not living up to her full potential, not having any guidance, not knowing what to do, and basically just doing petty crime, smuggling things into Artemis. And we end the book with her doing the exact same thing. It's like linear. There is no growth in terms of our character. I have no idea what the point of this book even was. It was a waste of my time. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a complete waste of my time. It was a waste of my money. But that's okay because we're gonna be getting our money back. And I don't even know, like, I have no words. The Martian is supposed to be like the best book that he's ever written. I'm hoping that now that we're going into having like a male's POV, we can get away from the terrible, terrible on-page jokes that was happening in this book because it honestly was just not funny. At the end, like, when we were at our climax of the book, Jasmine gets into a brawl, kind of like a fist fight, with another female character. And this guy, who is her ex best friend, who slept with her ex boyfriend that she never forgave, breaks up the fight between Jasmine and this other female. And he literally says, "I'm too gay to enjoy this cat fight." I am frustrated. I'm angry. And I like 26% of me wants to fight. There is so much in this book that I actually did not mention in this vlog that I didn't mention in any of these clips. There is so much more that can be talked about from this story, but I honestly just don't even have the energy or the time, nor do I want to give this any more attention than I unfortunately gave it by starting this vlog. If you weren't aware, this got a whopping 1 star. And that's even being generous, to be honest with you. That's being generous. When I read The Martian, and I want you to really listen to me because I have never been more deadly serious. When I read The Martian, it better feel like it was written by an entirely different person. Okay? I better not even be able to fathom that the same person wrote Artemis and The Martian and Project Hail Mary. Like, it better be a complete 180, because if I see any traces of Artemis in The Martian, we are going to have issues. We are going to have issues. We have started The Martian. Let me collect my thoughts, because I am 125 pages in. Let's start there. I physically read the first 55 to like 60 pages, and the personality of Mark felt very much the same as that of Jasmine. There was even a point in the book where Mark told the same sexual, crude type joke that Jasmine told in Artemis. It was the same joke. And I didn't laugh the first time, and I didn't laugh the second time. So, didn't like that. I will say that the story in this book, the plot, is just all around a better story. The writing schematics might be the same, or they might feel like the same. However, taking the formula that seems to be in both of these books and putting it in the storylines that he placed them in, the formula works out exceptionally better in The Martian than it does in Artemis. And now I'm questioning, like, am I gonna see a repeat for the third time of this same like writing sample? Because if that's also in Project Hail Mary, I will get to that bridge when we cross it. But back to this book, the story is just all around better. One thing that I did not like in Artemis was that Jasmine talks directly to the reader. The things that should have been explained was gravely skipped over, and the things that were kind of self-explanatory from where we were in the book and what was happening was like overly or redundantly explained. I didn't like that. Mark in The Martian also talks to the reader, but he's writing in a journal. So from his point of view, he's talking to the journal and then we're reading it. Or it still feels the same where our main character is talking directly to the reader. But this one, it's more palatable than it was in Artemis, so that is a better change. We get different POVs in this book, which is a good plus, because I am happy to get outside of Mark's head, because it often feels like Jasmine's head, and we didn't like being in Jasmine's head. I will also say that again, Jasmine told very like sarcastic, pessimistic, sardonic type jokes, and Mark also does that as well. But because of the gravity of his situation and like what's happening, it comes across as like, I mean, he's alone. He's been alone for, at this point, about 4 months. It's been 4 months since he's been stranded on Mars with no contact to any other person. So it's kind of like he's losing his social cues touch, and he's kind of going a little insane, and so he's talking to himself, and that can cause a person to be very sarcastic and pessimistic. So again, same writing schematics, but it's working out better in The Martian than it did in Artemis. I also will say that after I read the 50 pages physically, I switched to the audiobook, which was way better. It really heightened my reading experience of this book so far, because it's like one of those situations where, so you know how like sometimes you would prefer to talk to a person physically instead of via text message, because sometimes words and like intonations can get misconstrued on text messages or reading it than it would when a person says it. That's literally how I would describe this book, because the narrator gives Mark so much more personality than what is on paper. And I'm going to allude that to the skill and the talent of the narrator of the audiobook, because he really brought much more life to Mark than I initially seen on page. So if you're going to read The Martian, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing the audiobook, because the narrator also switches kind of personalities for the other POVs. And I think that also helps in this book as well, because we're getting Mark's POV from him writing in this journal, but then there's people back on Earth that are watching him, and they can kind of see him, and they're describing what's happening from their point of view. So it's a nice break to be outside of Mark's head, but still be very aware of what he's doing and what he looks like to other people. Jasmine's head was honestly just insufferable, and now I'm wondering if maybe if we had gotten outside POV, would that have made the story better? I don't know. I just know that this plot is far more superior than Artemis, and so I don't hate it. It's okay. It's less than what I expected in terms of like all the hype that's around the book. But considering where we just started, it's giving more than that gave. But it's also not giving what they said it was supposed to give. I don't know. We're 125 pages in and there are 318 pages. Definitely switching to audio for the rest of this book. But I want to make it clear like early on that when I physically read it, it felt a lot like Artemis and the narrator gave it much more personality. So I feel like my reading experience is going to be better from here on out. And it's only 301. So if I listen to this nonstop, I'll finish with this audiobook around 6:30. That's not bad. Maybe tonight I'll even watch the movie, and then tomorrow we'll start Project Hail Mary and we can be done with all of these books. Okay, so I am heading out. I did get a chance to finish the book. Haven't gotten a chance to see the movie. Forgot I had an event that I needed to go to tonight. So before I forget, I want to get my thoughts out about the end of the book. One, the story, like I said prior, was better. The character Mark was a copy and paste staple from Jasmine. The Martian came first and then Artemis came second, but I read it in like a reverse order. I did not like Jasmine. I felt like she was very immature and childish and there was no character growth in her at all. So I didn't like that personality. It was the same personality in Mark, and I also did not like it. I felt like he was way too immature and childish to be an astronaut. Can't believe they entrusted him with the future of traveling to Mars and being on like the Apollo whatever. Even if he had like an immature personality, there were some moments where I would have expected him to be serious and he just was not. He was constantly sarcastic and sardonic about his situation, constantly making jokes. He seemed very unaware of his immortality or his lack of immortality, and like even when the situation was absolutely dire and like you could see he was trying to take it serious, it would always end in him cracking a very uncomfortable joke, and that went on constantly and it just took away for me. The other characters though definitely made the book better outside, like having outside POVs, because like I said, we only get one personality between both books and I'm not a fan of those. So this book was just way better because of the outside personalities. Like I said before, the plot and the story was much better. The audiobook was really good. I did not hear the audiobook for Artemis, but the audiobook for this one was pretty cool. I feel like the narrator did a really good job. Ultimately, I gave the book 3.5 out of 5 stars. Going into Project Hail Mary, I want the same quality of story as The Martian, but I just pray to the high heavens that our main character gets a different personality, because if we get a copy and paste staple FedEx characteristic personality again that we have in Mark and Jasmine, if I see that again in Project Hail Mary, I'm gonna lose it. It's time to retire it. I don't like it. I don't care for it. It's not all that funny, and I feel like the narrator did his best to try to make it sound funny in the audiobook, and sometimes he did do a good job, but ultimately I don't like it, and it's not aiding in his talent. I'm not seeing I don't feel like this is a very talented writer, to be honest with you guys. I feel like the writing semantics is the same and he's just plugging the same formula into different equations to see what works out. And I would like to see something completely different in Project Hail Mary. And even though I read Artemis and The Martian backwards, Project Hail Mary is the newest release, came out about 2 weeks ago. So I want to see growth, because there was a big regression in these first 2 books, and I just have to be honest with you guys. So I'm going to head to a birthday party, have a ball. When I come back, if I have energy, I'll be watching The Martian. If not, I'll watch it in the morning. And then we'll start Project Hail Mary and I will come back with my thoughts. Bye, guys.
We're 11.5 and holding. Ready to go on your command.
3 years worth of food here. On a planet where nothing grows. Luckily, I'm a botanist. Mars will come to fear my botany powers.
The movie was top tier. The movie was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. And I have to give credits to Matt Damon because He did such a great job of like the problems that I had with Mark was that like he never really took a situation as serious for the like direness or like the severity of what was happening. It was like he was constantly making jokes even like in the face of imminent death, and it just kind of fell flat on paper because it wasn't like our character was trying to be optimistic or like trying to laugh in the face of pain instead of crying. It was something that Mark did consistently through the entire book, so he seemed to not ever be aware of, again, the severity of what was happening because it was like constant joke cracking and like sarcasm and just immaturity all the way around. And in the movie, Matt Damon does like kind of later on in the movie say like the sarcastic like jokes that you can find by Mark in the book, but his acting was just like superior because you could tell that he wasn't actually being funny, and like he said it in a very deadpan kind of way. And of course, like the book fell flat where the audiobook didn't, because the audiobook gave life to like the flat words that were pretty much on the paper, and then the movie basically gave life to the audiobook. And you could just see the sorrow and like the distraughtness of Matt Damon when he was like analyzing each situation. So we have started Project Hail Mary, and I am exactly 50 pages in, and the storyline, like the plot and the story that he's telling in this book, I like. Right now, Rylan has no memory at all. Rylan doesn't even know his name. He has no idea where he is. He's just aware that he's not on Earth. So he does not know who he is. Therefore, the personality is kind of void. And right now, it's just constant analyzing. He's analyzing the room, his environment, things that are happening to him. He's just constantly trying to figure out who he is, where he's from, and what he's doing, basically not on Earth. And he's spitting facts right now because of him analyzing things. He's trying to process it, and he knows that he's a scientist and he knows that he's a teacher. Right now, I have no idea what to expect from his personality because right now he doesn't even know his personality. And as long as his personality doesn't do a metamorphosis into Mark and Jasmine, we will be good. Like I said, the story and like the plot in here is really good. And like as long as he doesn't do that staple copy and paste personality, like I think I will like this book finally. Like I think this might be the book that we like because I like the story that he's trying to tell, and honestly I feel like the premise of this book, First Contact Alien, would be better in my taste than The Martian, because The Martian is just about a man who's literally stuck on Mars and that's pretty much it. It's not like an entire plot can be really uncovered. It's mostly just about him being on Mars trying to get back home. Of course, problems will arise that will stop him or prevent him from getting back home safely. Once the premise was established and the problem was established, the storyline kind of plateaued from there because there's really nowhere else you can go but to like either kill him off or take him home. That's about it. Like I am 50 pages in and I don't hate it, guys. Like finally, I don't hate it. So I find it interesting that our main character is so much of a scientist at his core that even knowing, not even knowing his name, where he's from, where he's at, what he's supposed to be doing, he's still doing science. Like he's doing science to figure out who he is. That's very interesting. Also, we just got a discovery that our main character is not in our solar system. So that's very interesting. We do get a little bit of a backstory where on Earth there is the sun in our solar system is dying because an alien life force is basically eating up energy from the sun and is getting dimmer. And so if the sun is not shining as bright as it's supposed to be, we'll have an ice age, crops will die, starvation will happen, it'll be freezing temperatures. Basically Earth will no longer be habitable. And so I assumed that they were going to try to contact these aliens or figure out a way to move them or figure out a way to save the energy of the sun somehow, some way. I don't know what I was thinking, but we just found out that our main character is in a completely different solar system. And also he had 2 crew members on the board or the spaceship with him and they did not make it. They are dead. That is in the synopsis, not a spoiler. So yeah, very interesting. And I am nervous to say, I don't want to say it too soon, but like unofficially, I like this book. Maybe we're making progress. Maybe. Okay, just a quick little update. I just hit 250 pages and I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I like it there. There might even be a level of writing talent. I'm amazed. I don't have any complaints. I know we're all shocked. I actually like this character. I like being inside his head, but we do get past memories from him, and so those do involve other characters, but they're still from his point of view. They're still kind of from his POV. We never really leave his head. Being able to leave the main character's head was really the only reason that The Martian was sufferable to me, and that's how it got 3.5 out of 5 stars, because I probably would have wanted to choke both Jasmine and Mark Watney. I don't dislike this character, and like we're in his head 24/7, and I also don't mind that. So this, so far, 250 pages in, we're now more than 50% through the book. This is the best book he's written, and I want to listen to the audiobook now. I'm going to switch to listen to the audiobook for the remainder of the book listening, because I feel like I've established my feelings about the book. And I'm going to listen to the audiobook, and I'm going to come back with my opinions on those, just for those of you who will probably be listening to this book via audio. Somehow we did it, guys. We made it to the end of this very roller coaster of emotion vlog. I ended up giving the book 5 stars. I feel like objectively it was a 4, maybe a 4.5, but I was honestly just so touched by the fact that like the growth in the writing between the 2 books that I read prior and ending with this book. Honestly, I was just willing to give him 5 stars for not making me suffer. I'm gonna be honest with you. But even without that extra tidbit, those extra points, the book was still a 4.5. I would even understand why someone chose to give it 5 stars. So our main character was a science teacher for a junior high school. And he was not the first choice, or he's definitely not the first choice that you would think of when you're trying to send someone into space and you're hinging the entire existence of Earth's survival and humanity. So when I ended up switching to the audiobook was not as phenomenal as The Martian. However, I feel like the narrator got the characteristics and the personality that I imagined when I was reading the book prior of a middle school or junior high science teacher. And he was always so excited with facts and like taking a second to like think things through, like the same way that he would encourage his students to analyze problems and to take on challenges and to never back down. You got to see that in him applying what he used to teach his students about science to himself. And it was super cool to just be inside of his head and see him like kind of flip out for a second because everything's kind of going to crap, and then taking a second and being like, what would I tell my students and how would I encourage my students to work through this? I just thought that was the cutest thing ever. I love the relationship that our main character Rylan had with our extraterrestrial life forms, and I am a really big fan of the ending. I don't know if everyone would love the ending, but I love my endings with a little bit of tragedy and a little bit of open-endedness, and those 2 formulas just really hit the spot for me. That was one thing that, like, to my taste, that he really got right. I don't know if I'm gonna rush out and automatically buy another book by Andy Weir, because this was, again, such a roller coaster of emotions. If you read The Martian or you read Artemis and you weren't bothered by the characters and like how they reacted to situations and being inside of their head, maybe it would be for you. I'm just glad that this author stepped outside of the box and gave us a different character. If this one was to be adapted for a film, I would hands down go and watch it, and I feel like I would enjoy it a little bit more than I enjoyed The Martian. But nonetheless, this was fun. I am happy to take a break from my usual fantasy and jump into some sci-fi, and I've been encouraged to read Monae, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, Skyward. I have so many sci-fi books that I want to read now, and we'll just go from there. Thank you guys for watching this very chaotic vlog, and I will see you guys next time.